It's all about calories in, calories out, right? As long as you're burning more calories than you're consuming, you're good, right? Well, there's a little bit more to it than that, and I'm talking all about that today. So strap in, get ready for episode 201. Let's go.
The future of fitness.
How do you gain muscle mass?
Fitness is not complicated. It's simple when you break it down.
There's so much information out there.
No fads, no diets, just plain simple habits.
You're listening to the Bones to Bulk podcast.
Hey, welcome to today's episode. My name is Brian Parody, and I will be your host today. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. So glad to have you. For my return listeners, thank you for coming back. It means the world to me that you continue to tune in week after week to this podcast. And I just have one quick favor to ask. One favor, if you get any value out of this podcast, would you please just hit that share button or take a snapshot and send it to someone who may benefit from this? Somebody that you have in mind, you're like, you know what, I think they could get a lot out of this. Just share it with them. That would mean the world to me. All right, with that being said, let's dive in. So calories in, calories out. Now, don't get me wrong. It's extremely important. You need to be tracking your calories, whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to gain weight, you've got to be tracking it. You need to know what you're consuming. Because so often we go through life and we don't have a clue and we just assume what's in things. We assume how many calories are in things. We eyeball things when we measure them. And you know that that is not an effective way to really keep track of what you're putting in your body. My eyes were opened very wide when I started tracking calories and started to understand what was in food, and just my mind was blown, like completely blown, shattered, all that stuff. And I was just like, holy crap, I didn't realize what was in food and the consequences of certain foods and all that. And while it is extremely important to track the amount of calories you consume, it is also important that we eat the right kinds of calories. Because let's just, for argument's sake, technically, you could probably lose weight if you only ate Oreos every day. That's right. If you're still eating in a deficit, if you're eating the right amount of Oreos to where your body's still in a deficit, you might be able to lose weight. Are you going to be healthy? No. Are you going to be able to build muscle? No. So yes, you can maybe achieve some results just with any food as long as the calories are right. You still want to make sure you're feeding your body the correct types of food. I'll give you a personal example. When I started, I was, lifting regularly and I was eating a whole lot, but I ate a lot of junk food. I ate a lot of Little Debbie snacks. Man, like Little Debbie fudge brownies still, I don't know if they would, I probably would taste one now and they'd be gross, but the thought of them still is like, wow, those are good. Soda, I don't know if you remember, and this is going to make me sound really old, but when iTunes first launched, they did a big promotion with 7-Eleven, and every third cup you bought, the big gulp cups, had these stickers on them, and every third one was a winner and you got a free song. So in my mind, that was a great way to get soda and free music. I probably racked up 30, 40 free songs when they did that promotion, which gives you an idea of how many freaking sodas I drank during that time. It was a lot. Bagel bites. Who remembers bagel bites? I mean, oh my gosh, I would down them by the box. Pop-Tarts, the s'mores flavor, I argue about my wife with what was the best Pop-Tart flavor. She says frosted strawberry. I say s'mores. What's your opinion? Let me know. All right, so the point is I ate a ton of junk food, okay? I was eating enough calories. If you were just saying, hey, I'm trying to gain weight, I'm eating in an excess. I was. I wasn't tracking back then, but if I had to guess, it was probably close to 5,000 calories a day. I would eat 3 meals. I would eat seconds at all my meals. And then in addition, I was eating junk food all day. And junk food calories add up quick. It does not take long to hit an insane amount of calories when you're eating junk food. So the problem was I wasn't gaining any weight. And I even had people tell me, oh, if you're trying to bulk up, just eat whatever you want. Don't worry about eating clean. And it's that whole bulk shred mentality of you eat crap for half the year and then you eat clean half the year, which I do not agree with. But that's another episode altogether. I think I have one on that actually. So what you want to focus on then is what you eat. Because let me tell you, your body can't do anything with what I like to call empty calories. And empty calories are things like processed sugars, Oreos, ice cream, things that have no nutritional content. So they're pretty much all sugar and empty carbohydrates Don't get me wrong, I love my good carbs, but not my bad carbs. And just lots of crap for us. Fat, sugar, and empty carbs. That's primarily what my diet was. Maybe a little bit of protein thrown in. But when your diet is primarily these things, your body can't build anything from those. It gets all these calories. Sugar is processed by the liver. So when you eat a lot of sugar at once, that sugar all heads to your liver and it knocks on the door and it's like, hey, what's up? We need to be processed. And the liver's only so big. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, like my house can't house all y'all. So all of you that I can't get in my house right now, I'm just going to have to store you over here as fat. And that's what happens. That's how sugar is processed by the body. We can't do anything with it. And if it's in such an excess, which typically it is, especially in our modern day diet, there's sugar in freaking everything, not to mention all the additional sugar we intake. And so what happens is all that sugar gets stored as fat because our bodies can't do anything with it. Do we need some sugar to function? Yes, absolutely. But we get a crap ton over that. And it's artificial sugars, usually not the right type of sugars. It's not like the healthy fructose type sugars that we're getting from fruit. It's the bad kind from Little Debbie snacks and Oreos. You know what I'm saying? So you've got to be eating the right kinds of foods. And for starters, what that looks like in my mind is clean, wholesome foods. You've got to get rid of as much processed food as possible. Get rid of as much fast food as possible. Get rid of as much restaurant food as possible. Did you know that I don't really need to tell you that fast food is bad for you? I think we pretty much all understand that concept. Even if we eat it, we still understand, yeah, this isn't healthy. Second off, restaurant food. You may think, oh, well, if I go to a decent restaurant, I can get a good meal. But even a healthy, quote unquote, meal at a restaurant is way unhealthier than a home cooked meal. I checked this out recently. So I compared a chicken breast and what was it? I think a regular corn on the cob and a regular baked potato at Chili's. And I compared the calorie count to what it would be if you made that at home, and it was more than double. And the reason for that is because food at restaurants, even if it's not loaded and smothered and fried and all that, it's still injected with so much different stuff to make it taste better. For instance, meats are injected with sugar and a lot of other flavorants and artificial who knows what's before it ever even reaches the restaurants to make it juicier, to make it sweeter, to make it more palatable so that you really, really like it and it has addictive properties, and then you're more likely to come back to the restaurant. It's all a big machine, like it really is. So I'm not saying never eat out. Like I eat out probably once a week, but you've got to be mindful of it. You've got to factor it in. When I eat out, for instance, Fridays are kind of usually my wife and I, we go out to eat and have a couple drinks at night, maybe some desserts. And while I'm not saying that's healthy, I do plan for it. So in other words, I will eat much smaller portions throughout the day to prepare for that. I will skip my snacks. So my calorie range is still roughly the same, even if I am getting some junk food in. So the biggest thing I can tell you is be mindful of what you eat. Again, be mindful of the amount of calories, but also be mindful of where those calories are coming from. You want to get good sources of protein, whether it's from turkey or chicken or fish or non-fat yogurts or cottage cheese. There's so many good sources of protein out there. Get healthy fats, things like avocados and tree nuts. Be careful with tree nuts because they're very high in calories, which is great if you're trying to bulk. I consume, I don't know how many almonds and cashews in my journey. So they're great for that. But if you're trying to lose weight, maybe not so much. And then with your carbohydrates, things like potatoes. Don't think that you have to eat sweet potatoes. Like I don't like sweet potatoes. I'm not going to eat sweet potatoes, but I love red potatoes. So you know what? That's what I'm going to eat. Rice and oatmeal and quinoa and lots of fibrous veggies. Like all this stuff is so good for our bodies and it gives our bodies the nutrients it needs to function. So I hope this helps. I hope it just bring some perspective around of what you should be focusing on. It's not just the amount of calories, but where those calories come from so your body can really take them and use them to their optimal ability. All right. If you have not subscribed to our text number, please text the word podcast to 706-222-7551. You'll get a couple confirmation automated texts, and then from there on out, everything comes directly from me. I send out a few texts a week. You can ask me questions at that number. If you have a question you would like answered on the show, hit me up and I would be happy to answer it. If you have an idea for a future podcast, something you'd like to hear me talk about more, again, text me at that number, and I would love to hear ideas and be glad to feature them if they're a good fit for the show. So with that being said, remember, no matter what obstacles you're coming up against, what things are facing you down, what struggles, stay consistent, stay true to the course, to your end goal, because you've got this.